We better, wow, look at that. Beautiful time of day. That's why you go photographing in the storm. Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to be reading out of, I'm going to start with Isaiah 41. Isaiah 41. Is anybody reading along with me, or is everybody just videoing me? Videoing. I guess, okay. Verse 21. Okay, now listen to this. This is pretty intense. What's going on here is God is mocking idolatry through Isaiah, because the people believe these objects are gods. And so he's saying, okay, if you're gods, prove it. You've heard the test of a prophet. This is really the test of whether you're God or not. Okay, so listen to what Isaiah says, God says through Isaiah. Verse 21, present your case, says Yahweh. Set forth your arguments, says Jacob's king. Bring in your idols to tell us what is going to happen. Tell us what the former things were, so that we may consider them and know their final outcome. Okay, now listen to that. He's saying, tell us what the former things were. Do you see that? Not just the future. You also got to get the past right. Think of all these tells that we've been going to and all these sites. Jericho's just right over there with a fallen wall around it that we're going to go to. You got to get the past right. Otherwise, somebody like Joseph Smith could come along and read something from the past and pretend like he's predicting the future. What was the problem with Joseph Smith? He was a farm boy in the 1800s, and he didn't understand anything about the ancient world. And so he made all kinds of mistakes because he doesn't have the knowledge of the past. If you're God, you know the past and you know the future. So that's why he says, tell us what the former things were, so that we may consider them. That's what we've been doing, right? And know their final outcome, or declare to us the things to come. Tell us what the future holds, so we may know that you are God's. Amen. In other words, if this is really God's word, it should be able to tell us two things accurately. It should be able to tell us accurately the ancient past, and from that ancient past, accurately the unforeseeable future. No other group of writing in existence can do that or does do that. Here's another one. Chapter 44. And keep in mind, I'm reading from the scroll that was found in there that dates to 150 BC. Well, I'm reading from my Bible here, but it's the same as the scroll that was found in here from 150 BC. This is what Yahweh says, Israel's King and Redeemer, Yahweh Almighty. I am the first and I am the last. Apart from me, there is no God. Who then is like me? Let him proclaim it. Let him declare and lay out before me, here it is, what has happened since I established my ancient people. Got to get the ancient past right. And what is yet to come. Yes, let him foretell what will come. Do not tremble, do not be afraid. Did I not proclaim this and foretell it long ago? You are my witnesses. Is there any God besides me? No, there is no other rock. I know not one. Let me give you an example of how this works. Missy.
Yes, sir.
And I were digging in Bethlehem under two co-directors, both of them secular. One of them is a secular archaeologist, Shimon Gibson. The other one, a secular historian, Joan Taylor. I asked both of them. It's an interview. You can see the interviews in the video short that I did on my website called Born in Bethlehem. And I asked Joan Taylor, was Jesus born here? She says, well, yes, of course he was born here. What do you think we're digging here for? Right? But she's not alone in her field. Why does she think that Jesus is born there? Because of all the historical references to Jesus being born there, both in the Bible and the extra biblical sources that say that Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Okay? Shimon, who's an archaeologist, why do you believe that he was born here? And he goes through the archaeology about how we're coming from the time of Jesus, and the commemoration of Jesus being born there is stacked one on top of another, like we've been talking about in these two sites. Okay? It is a historical fact that Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and I knew that they knew that. So then I had this conversation with Joan Taylor while I'm digging next to her. Why not? And I said, did you, first of all, do you believe that Jesus was born here? Of course he was born here. And does the Bible predict that the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem? Yes. Yes. And do we have copies of that to prove that that was predicted before Jesus was born here? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, is a copy of the prophecy in Micah that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem found in the Dead Sea Scrolls? Yes. When does it date to? 125 BC. So then I said, so Jesus fulfilled that then? And she said, well, I wouldn't go that far. And I said, well, wait a minute. 1 + 1 = 2. The Old Testament says that the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem, and Jesus, who claimed to be the Messiah, was born in Bethlehem. He fulfilled that. Well, no, you don't have to believe he's the Messiah. You don't have to believe, but he fulfilled that. And the only answer that he or Shimon could give to that is, well, it's a coincidence. Okay, so then let's talk about another one found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Is the psalm that says that the Messiah will be pierced through his hands and his feet. Is it a historical reality that Jesus was crucified and pierced through his hands and his feet? Yes. They have to say yes, because the most historical event established in history that happened to Jesus is his crucifixion. Okay, well, then he fulfilled that one. You can't argue that he didn't fulfill it. It's a historical fact on one side and a proven prediction preserved in copies before the event that fulfills it on this side. You see that? How do you argue it? All you can say it's a coincidence, and then you can go on to the next one, and then you can go on to the next one, and then you can go on to the next one. And what greater book from the Old Testament to be found in its entirety, dating to 150 BC, than the entire scroll of Isaiah? That does exactly what Isaiah says you have to do to show that this isn't just a historical book. There's other historical books. This is authoritative. This is the creator of the universe speaking to us and proving that it's him speaking to us because he's doing what only he can do, and that is tell us the ancient past correctly, accurately, and then from that, the unforeseeable future. Think of Isaiah 7, that the Messiah will be born of a virgin. Think of Isaiah 9:6, that he will be called Mighty God. Think of Isaiah 53, that many will be justified through him being led like a lamb to the slaughter. I mean, one after another, until it's overwhelmingly obvious that this is God's word.